What a day to be a Mountaineer fan. Mountaineer Nation, we deserve this. We deserve this moment. What a huge, huge win for the West Virginia Mountaineer basketball team, men's basketball team, as they defeat the number 3 ranked Gonzaga Bulldogs, 86-78 in overtime. That's right. Third ranked, number 3 ranked in the country, Gonzaga Bulldogs, 86-78 in the battle for Atlantis quarterfinal round. Unbelievable performance. What a gritty performance by this basketball team. Thanks to those of you who might be joining me on X. If you are, don't forget after the show's over to come over to my YouTube channel, the basketball side of the Couz's Corner Network, Hoops from the Hills, where I cover West Virginia Mountaineer basketball. What a win for this Mountaineer team. What an absolute great win. I broke out the coonskin cap for this one. I don't do this a lot. Only big moments do I break out the coonskin cap, and this deserved it. Tucker DeVries, great performance. Javon Small, absolutely just dominant performance, 31 points. Darren DeVries coached his butt off in this game. What a win for this Mountaineer program. Huge, huge win for the program and for this team and for these players. After what happened against Pitt a couple of weeks ago, some doubt started to creep in about this team. Could they compete in the Big 12? They stood up today and showed that they can. Now, don't want to overreact too much because this is one game of many. And obviously, I'm sure they brought their A game today, playing the number 3 ranked team in the country. But we now know this is a good basketball team. This is a team that's going to compete. They're not going to lay down, and they are going to be a tough out for any team that plays against them. Any team that plays against them, it will be a tough out. And I've got the Mountaineer mentality shirt on. I thought that was a perfect shirt to wear because that's what this team displayed today. I mean, they absolutely out-hustled Gonzaga. They wanted it more and a lot down the stretch in big moments. They got big rebounds when they needed to get rebounds. They were way overmatched from a size perspective. They did not let that deter them. They stepped up, and they won the game. Huge, huge victory, one of the biggest victories in Mountaineer basketball in a while, in my opinion. And that's only because, yes, they've beaten highly ranked teams before. The last year's team even beat Kansas. But when you look at what this team is dealing with the new roster, the new coaching staff, coming off a 9-win season last year, I'll take it. I will absolutely take it. Thanks to those of you who are joining the show. Whether you're watching on YouTube or on X, thank you so much for supporting what we're doing here at Hoops from the Hills and on X at Couz's Corner. Hoops from the Hills is part of the Couz's Corner family of networks now. So let's go ahead and pull up the stats from this game. Again, huge, huge win for Mountaineer Nation and for this basketball team. Let me make sure you guys can see this. I think I may go full screen mode here. Maybe it'll be easier. All right. First, let's look at the team stats. West Virginia on the right, Gonzaga on the left. West Virginia trailed by 10 in this game at one point. So, they did not let that deter them. It did not faze them. And they come back and win the game. Field goal percentage, Gonzaga 40, West Virginia 41.3. Both teams shot the ball fairly well, or at least first half they did. Second half, they both went a little cold, but they both came out hot. 3-point percentage, 33.3 for Gonzaga, 31.4 for West Virginia. But West Virginia put up 35 attempts, which means they made 4 more threes, and that made a difference. Free throws, 19 of 22 for the Zags, 23 of 26 for the Mountaineers, 88.5%. And those were huge down the stretch, especially the 2 Tucker DeVries made there to tie the game at the end of regulation. Absolutely critical free throws. Rebounds. Look at this. West Virginia out-rebounds Gonzaga 42-36. Undersized. Not one player above 6'8", at least in the starting lineup. We do have Eduardo Andre, but he did not play a whole lot of minutes. But Amani Hansberry and company, he was boxing out. The team was getting physical. They just rebounded well as a team. Amani Hansberry played well underneath. Zags have a lot of bigs, man. They have a lot of bigs, and I thought down the stretch in regulation that was going to cost the Mountaineers this game. They kept going to Huff down low, and he put in like 6 straight points. I thought, man, we can't stop this guy, but this Mountaineer team just found a way to win the ball game. Took advantage of some Gonzaga mistakes, some coaching errors, I thought. Mark Few took, Nembhard out of the game there during that free throw there late in the game. Tried to sub him back in. Wasn't allowed to do so. Kudos to the West Virginia coaching staff for catching that and saying, hey, he can't do that. So Nembhard was not in the game on that final possession of regulation for the Zags, and I think that made a difference because he's extremely, extremely fast and can get the ball down the court. But I just can't believe West Virginia out-rebounded Gonzaga by 6. It was primarily on the defensive glass, 30-25, and even had one more offensive rebound. Assists, Gonzaga won that battle 20-12, 7-7 in steals. West Virginia with 8 blocks on the day, 3 for Gonzaga. The team with the 7-footers had less blocks. Just pure effort from this Mountaineer team and good defense and in some length too that helps and some good athleticism. Turnovers, 13 for each team. West Virginia took advantage of turnovers a little bit better. They had 12 points to Gonzaga's 10 off turnovers. 8, West Virginia loses the fast break point battle, 8-9. Points in the paint, 30 for Gonzaga, 28 for West Virginia. They held their own in that category. 18-17 in fouls. What a close game statistically this was. Largest lead, 10 for Gonzaga, 8 for West Virginia, which ended up being the final margin. So impressive numbers. And to me, the difference in this basketball game was when you look at the rebounding numbers right here. West Virginia 42, Gonzaga 36. A team that is undersized was able to be more physical, and they just flat out wanted it more, in my opinion. Let's go to the individual stats here. First off, for Gonzaga, I want you to look at Ryan Nembhard. He was 1 of 10 from the floor. He's one of the best players in college basketball here, folks. Ryan Nembhard. 1 of 10 from the floor, 5 of 6 from the line. Did have 12 assists, so he did good there, only 7 points. Applause to Sincere Harris, a.k.a. Buck, is what he's known as on the team. What a defensive effort he put forward today guarding Ryan Nembhard. Sincere Harris is not going to knock your socks off on the offensive end of the floor. But what he brings to this team on the defensive end of the floor cannot go unnoticed. And he put his body on the line. He had 3 huge falls today out of the air that every time I thought, man, he's going to have to go out of the game, and neither time did he. He stayed in the game. Matter of fact, he may have played the whole daggone game. I don't know. But he played Ryan Nembhard tough. Just excellent job by Sincere Harris, only giving up 7 points to Ryan Nembhard, one of the best players in the country. Gonzaga's leading scorer on the day was Braden Huff off the bench with 19 points. Then you had Caleb Battle with 16. He was really tough to stop, especially early. And then in the second half, they figured out how, force him to his left. He's not going to do as much damage there, and he didn't. And then Nolan Hickman had 13 for the Bulldogs. Leading rebounder was was Ben Gregg with 6. Who's one of those big 7-footers, or at least near 7-footers. West Virginia, you've got Amani Hansberry with 19 points to go along with 8 rebounds and a block. You have Sincere Harris, only 8-point day, not bad, but had 2 blocks, 2 steals, 6 rebounds to go along with just absolutely dog defense on Ryan Nembhard, man. And then DeVries had 16 points, 6 rebounds, 4 blocks, 2 steals. What a stat line. 6 of 7 from the free throw stripe, 2 of 6 from 3. Tucker DeVries, just an all-around great performance. And here's what impresses me about DeVries, man. Tucker DeVries is his basketball IQ is unbelievable. He's like having a coach on the floor. The way he uses his body to get open, to set screens for even himself. One time he made a 3. He set a screen for himself, was able to pop out, make the shot. He moves well without the ball. He's a good passer. He's just a good all-around basketball player. Obviously known more for his shooting and scoring, but he can do anything on the court. Look at his stats. And this is against the number 3 team in the country, folks. Number 3 team in the country. 16 points, 4 blocks, 2 steals, 4 assists, 6 rebounds. Unbelievable. Javon Small, 31 freaking points, man. Just an absolutely phenomenal performance from Javon Small. What a pickup in the portal that was for this team. Guys, I'm so freaking excited. He was 9 of 18 from the floor, 4 of 10 from 3, 9 of 11 from the foul line, had 7 rebounds of his own, with 2 assists, a steal, a block. Unbelievable. Unbelievable performance. Toby Okani had 10 points. Decent day for him to go along with a couple rebounds, and then off the bench, very short bench today for the Mountaineers. Eduardo Andre did pick up an assist and a rebound. KJ Tenner had not really any stats. He was 0 for 1 from the floor. And then Jonathan Powell did not shoot the ball as well today. He did have a couple free throws and also had a couple rebounds on the day and an assist. So, going against a team of this caliber, Coach DeVries had to shorten his bench, especially in the second half. KJ Tenner and Jonathan Powell were huge mismatches, especially on the defensive end of the floor for West Virginia. Those guys, they're true freshmen. They're just not physically ready, in my opinion, to handle a team like a Gonzaga. It'll be interesting to see once they get into Big 12 play what these guys are able to do. It's going to be hard, and I don't mean to get too negative here, but it's going to be hard for West Virginia to be super competitive in the Big 12 if you only have 8 guys that can play night in, night out, especially if they start dealing with injuries. So hopefully some more, Joseph Yesufu didn't play in this game. I was a little bit surprised with that. He's a veteran. He's a senior, has played in big games, has played for Kansas. Surprised he didn't get in the game, to be honest with you. But other than that, pretty much everybody played, but just you didn't see a lot of guys. The starters pretty much played the entire second half. Powell did have to come in for DeVries there late when DeVries was having cramps. So they got some quality minutes out of him there late. Just an absolutely wonderful performance. Had some more people pop in. We've got Mountaineer Mama in the house, Big Aaron, David Cummings, Brandon Moore, Tosh Miller, Matthias Morales. So I hope I pronounced your name right. Christopher West. John Kelly's in the house. Thank you all for joining the chat. For those of you watching on X, please come over to YouTube after the show to Hoops from the Hills. Subscribe to the channel over there. I'm going to be covering Mountaineer basketball all season long. Got Brandon Bailey in the house as well. Thank you guys for tuning into the show. Absolutely something to be excited about, Brandon. You're absolutely right. I'm not going to lie to you. And I know this is a little crazy, but I had some tears of joy a little bit and well up in my eyes after this game, guys. We need this as a fan base. We absolutely needed this today. And to be honest, I think we deserve it after what we've been through the last few years in football, after last basketball season that we had to endure. We absolutely needed it. Morales says, as an alum, WVU basketball has a coach in DeVries. I absolutely agree. I thought it was a home run hire at the time they made it. I still stand by that. I didn't let the Pitt game deter me. It was only one game. Just a tough night for the team. John Kelly says Coach Few got some stops of the whistle and favors. And and even despite that, West Virginia was able to pull out the win. Brandon Moore says it seemed to me everyone, including ESPN and their announcers, were touting for Gonzaga. John Kelly says this was for my dad. Absolute shout out to John's dad out there. Hope he was able to enjoy the game, John, and hope you were too. Tosh says Tuck has been hot and cold shooting all year so far, but aside from that, he's tremendous away from the ball. He's a great defender, underrated, always making smart plays. Absolutely, Tosh. Like I mentioned, his basketball IQ is through the roof, man. That young man's going to coach basketball one day, no doubt about it. I've even thought that just hearing him in press conferences, he's so intelligent. But today, after watching, obviously I noticed it in previous games too, but today's game, it really stood out today. He was a leader on the floor. We're not letting the team get too hyped up and too excited when there were still 35 seconds to go in the game. He was like, look, it's not over. It's not over. He's like a coach out there on the floor. Coach DeVries 2.0, right? And I think that goes a long way, especially a team that's new. And that's another thing that's impressive. When you look at Gonzaga's roster, they're loaded with seniors, guys, seniors and juniors. Not only are they extremely talented, they have a lot of size, they have a lot of experience. This team's battle tested. They've been in a lot of NCAA tournaments. They've been in some big games. They didn't falter down a stretch. Gonzaga didn't look like they got nervous or the moment wasn't too big. West Virginia just flat out played them. That's what's so cool about it. West Virginia flat out played them down the stretch. Despite Gonzaga's experience in big-time games, despite their, being loaded with a lot of seniors. West Virginia, yes, Javon Small, Tucker DeVries are both seniors. But you got to remember, Amani Hansberry is a sophomore. Didn't play a whole lot last year at Illinois. Sincere Harris didn't play at all last season. He's a redshirt sophomore. Didn't play at all last season. Played some in his freshman year at Illinois. Jonathan Powell's a true freshman. KJ Tenner's a true freshman. So there are some young players on this basketball team that stepped up in this game today to help out Javon Small, Tugger DeVries, and these upperclassmen. Toby O'Connor's an upperclassman too. Can't leave him out. But, man, what a game. What an absolute wonderful game. When you look at this Mountaineer team, what really sticks out, first off, let's look at the offensive side of the ball. The way they move the basketball, the way they cut to the basket, and the way they get off screens, they're extremely patient. There were a few times I got frustrated at them because they forced some shots that they shouldn't have forced early in the shot clock, but they don't do it. They don't make a habit of it, right? They do it. They learn from their mistakes, and they fix it next time. They're just a fundamentally sound basketball team. Like Chris Huddleston here, who's commenting over from X, he says, it's so nice to have a fundamentally sound team again. All the Beeline years. Absolutely, Chris. Bingo, man. They pass the ball pretty well. They handle it well. They don't make a whole lot of dumb decisions. They did get a little sloppy here and there, but, man, overall they played a pretty clean game. And then they're just a fun team to watch. Like, they're so clean the way they play. They're fun. Man, I just don't know how to describe it. Just fun, clean, smart basketball. And not to mention they can shoot the ball pretty darn well too, and that helps. And then defensively, just their effort. Their effort is unbelievable. I mean, they go after every loose ball, every rebound. They box out. They put bodies on guys. They get physical. They were getting physical today on defense, something Coach DeVries has been preaching and hammering home to this team. We need to be more physical, They did that in this game. I loved it. Yes, A.O. Truth, great point. He says Hansberry, great passes from high post. He was excellent today. Amani Hansberry played an excellent basketball game. I talked about his 19 points. I talked about I think it was 8 rebounds he had. But what he did outside of that doesn't show up in the stat sheet, the passes outside the post, the pick and roll plays, just the smart decisions he made. The way he was able to guard down low on those guys who were much taller than him. An absolutely masterclass, in my opinion, by this basketball team. Now, were they perfect? Absolutely not. Like I said, they did force a few shots early in the shot clock I'd like for them to take back. They did have 13 turnovers, so that wasn't totally clean. But considering they were playing against the third-ranked team in the country, I'll take it. I'm sure Coach DeVries would rather get that turnover down under double digits, but man, I'll take it. Just the way they hustle, just the heart they play with. I wish I had a shirt. I do have a shirt with a blue collar on, but I wish I had a shirt that had was like white with a blue collar. I was going to wear that for this because that is a blue collar basketball team. That basketball team embodies the Mountaineer mentality. It embodies the state that they represent. It embodies the culture. And this really hammers home to me that Ren Baker made the right decision in hiring Darren DeVries to coach this ball team, because he teaches that blue collar work ethic, that blue collar mentality, the Mountaineer mentality. He teaches that. It's what we like. It's what we had under Huggins. It's what we loved. That's why we loved Huggins so much. He taught that blue collar, hard work, outwork your opponent. Well, Darren DeVries is doing the same thing. And oh, by the way, he's also got a little bit of John Beeline mixed in with some good, clean offense, moving without the ball, cutting to the basket, making good passes, shooting the three well, pick and roll, not trying to do it too much off the dribble, not too much one-on-one. Javon Small was able to do that today when needed, but they don't try to make a living on that. And how about his body control? How about Javon Small's body control when he drives the ball to the rim? How he's able to use his body to go up against bigger opponents, force contact. A couple of times he was able to force contact and get a foul. Other times he was able to score over bigger guys. Just Javon Small, man, what a pickup. He's even better than I thought he was, at least so far. Just an absolutely monster day, 31 points by him. Yes, Bob Stone King, great point. He says, not big, but they have long arms for defense, and it showed today. Yes, DeVries made a point to get guys with length. Tucker's got length. Javon Small's got length. Toby O'Connor's got length. It enables them to guard guys who are bigger than them. Even Hansberry. Sincere Harris has a lot of length guarding the ball. And it goes on. I hope it didn't go unnoticed. His name didn't get called a lot today, not enough in my opinion. Sincere Harris. I don't think y'all understand what he did today. This kid is a sophomore, a redshirt sophomore, guarding one of the best, the premier players in all of college basketball. He held him to 7 points in this game. He was like, all right, Ryan Nembhard, you're so good, you get all this hype. I'm shutting you down. And he did. Now, he did get 12 assists, but he was held to 7 points. That was humongous in this game, guys. He took him out of the game. Now, Gonzaga did that to Tucker a little bit early, but they were able to figure out ways to get Tucker the ball through screening, through cutting, creating some separation between him. And then a couple of times he just had to put up a couple tough shots over guys. He was able to make some. He missed a few, but he made enough. But man, what a game! Now, I don't want to stick to this game. They have to play Louisville tomorrow. Now, Louisville just upset Indiana. It's going to be an interesting matchup for West Virginia. I haven't dug into Indiana. I don't know a lot about them yet, but I do know they have a new coach in Pat Kelsey, a coach who was, it's my understanding he was on the list of coaches that Ren Becker were considering for the West Virginia job. I'm not sure how far he got. Not sure if he ever interviewed or anything like that, but his name was on the list that was reported by several media outlets. He was another hot coach, just like Coach DeVries was. So you've got two new coaches, two teams with new rosters going at it, two former Big East foes. It should be a really fun basketball game. Hopefully West Virginia's overtime game, they may even go into overtime. I worry a little bit that that may affect their legs for tomorrow's game. We've seen that in past in these tournament settings where one team, Louisville blew out Indiana, so they didn't have to play quite as hard down the stretch, where West Virginia had to not only play hard to get out a game, but they had to go into overtime and play 5 extra minutes and didn't have a whole lot of subs. So I worry a little bit about West Virginia's legs tomorrow. I'm not expecting them to come out and win the game tomorrow. I think they absolutely can, but I figure they'll keep it close just off of grit and determination and effort. But it's going to be tough for them to play back-to-back days like this against a team who should be more fresh than them in Louisville. But it should be interesting. But this team, if they can at least win one more of these next 2 games, because I think they get 3 games, if I'm not mistaken. If they can win at least one of the next 2, I think it'll be a successful trip for them. Heck, even if they lose the next 2, they showed a lot in this game today. They will be able to compete in the Big 12, in my opinion, barring some crazy injuries. So I'm very excited about the brand of basketball they're playing. Hopefully, this is not one of these fluke wins like we saw last year against Kansas, and I don't think it is, because last year's team had lost some bye games. They had lost some games to mid-majors, even low majors, really, coming into that Kansas game, where this team has not done that. Yes, they got blown out against Pitt. I think that game may have been the anomaly, actually, where the team just could not make a shot. Pitt was not missing anything early, and I think it just kind of unraveled from there. It was one of those nights where nothing was going right. And that happens sometimes in sports, Unfortunately, it was just against Pitt. Russell Wall, I'm not sure about Jaden Stone. Every time they've asked Coach DeVries about it, he's basically said he's day-to-day. So it's not okay. Golf says, I don't even hate Neil Brown anymore. I know he's on the way out. Basketball has that BDE. Time to actually climb. There you go. And I wanted to, I'll go ahead and say it, and I'm not going to pile on Neil Brown. This is a basketball show, but I thought, man, Darren DeVries already has more signature wins in 5 games than, or 6 games, I guess. Or, it's 5 games than Neil Brown has in 6 years. But it's a different sport. So that's not really a fair comparison. David Williams says, huge win. Huggins never beat Gonzaga, though this new coach on team did. That was impressive. Russell Peterson says, I think all 7 points were from 5 of the 7 were Russell. He did make 1 field goal, but 5 of the 7 points were from the free throw stripe. So Sincere Harris, kudos to you, young man. Your defense today was absolutely on point. Absolutely splendid. As Coach Huggins will say, he was terrific. John Kelly says they were improving from the Pitt game. Curtis D316 in the house says, did I not call it that Gonzaga would be WVU's first big win? You did. You did call it, Curtis. Absolutely you did. David says, let's go beat Louisville tomorrow. Brandon Moore says this is a big win for Big 12 Conference as well. It is a big win. Absolutely, it's a big win. Kansas was able to beat Duke. Now, Houston fell. It's my understanding Houston fell to Alabama. That was a setback a little bit, but the Big 12 still winning some good games, big games here. I'm sure Brett Yormark was happy and smiling after this one. Russell Peterson, great comment. He says, imagine what we could do or what we could be with a big presence in the middle. Great point. Brandon Moore says, all we need is Pittsnoggle, and we would look like the early 2000s WVU teams. David Cummings, DeVries did what Huggins couldn't do, beat Pitt. Brandon Moore, it's huge for recruiting. Absolutely. Absolutely huge for recruiting. Tosh Miller said the same thing. Yeah, great comments, guys. I really appreciate it. This is not going to be a super long show. It is the night before Thanksgiving, a lot going on. And I do have a football show to record here shortly with Jonathan, our Gold and Blue Breakdown show we're going to be doing here in a couple hours. I will stay on a couple more minutes here and answer some comments for you guys. Earval says, makes me forget the Pitt game. Absolutely, Earval. Sure enough does. John Kelly says, I still hope we beat Tech Saturday. I will always root for the players. Amen. It's Not Okay Golf says, it's hard to truly believe when you're practicing against yourselves. All these guys needed was a game like this to start believing. You could see that was the difference tonight. John Kelly says, we were smothered them and caused them to get out of their groove. Absolutely. I didn't see Gonzaga getting flustered necessarily, or the moment wasn't too big, but they just weren't able to do what they wanted to do because West Virginia kicked them, kind of pushed them out of their lane, so to speak. John Kelly says, we're very close to turning teams over like those old teams and finishing with big dunks and layups. How about that finishing dunk at the end for Sincere Harris? What a way to put an exclamation point on this game. Russell says, nice lid, Couz. Our fans look great on TV. They did, man. There were a lot of Mountaineer fans at the game. I don't know if you guys noticed, but have you noticed that sometimes when they pan to the fans, you see some of the same people? I saw a couple guys today, or one guy in particular. I'm like, I see that guy in a lot of games. He's a lot of games. No, hey, man, Matthew, no problem, man. Thank you for being here. Better late than never, my friend. He says, thank you. Let's freaking go. Sorry for being late. What a freaking game. Absolutely. Brandon Piquel in the house says, can we beat Kansas in a Big 12 opener? How are they looking? They beat Duke yesterday, so they're looking pretty darn good. And Russell, speaking of this lid, I only break this out for very special occasions because it's extremely uncomfortable. It's itchy, especially on my bald head. But this was a special occasion, so I'm wearing it. Jeff Barnes, it is absolutely great to feel this good again. Absolutely. Thank you for watching on X. Again, if you're watching on X, this is the Hoops from the Hills YouTube channel, not my normal Couz's Corner YouTube channel. So this is where I cover West Virginia basketball. If you want West Virginia basketball content all season long, once this stream is over, please come over to my YouTube channel, Hoops from the Hills. Check out the past shows myself and other creators have done over there. I will be doing a lot more on the channel going forward than I have been in the past. I'm going to try my best to keep up. It's hard to do two channels, especially when you have a full-time job and a family, but I'm going to do my best to manage it. And, I'll be bringing on guests on occasion to talk it as well. So it won't be just me, but I am going to be running that channel, and I hope that you can come over and support me over there. If you love, most of you, that are in here probably remember the channel that was myself and Mountaineer Paul. I have now taken the channel over from him full time. Timothy Green in the house says, you are looking damn good in your coonskin hat, my friend. How about WVU beating the number 3 team in the nation? Absolutely, Timothy. Matthew says, I think if this team keeps shooting from 3 decent and playing with the effort and grit of today, we can beat anyone on any given night. I agree. Look, I still don't want to get my expectations too high. I'm still going to be tempered a little bit. I still think this team can compete for a spot in March. I'm not going to predict they get one yet. I don't want to jump the gun here. Jeff, that's a good question. What time do they play Louisville? I don't know. Can someone look that up for me? If somebody can look that up and put it in the chat, it would be great. because I'd like to know myself. Russell Snyder says Kansas has already taken down Carolina and Duke. Great point. I forgot about the Carolina win. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it, man. It's the hat I break out in big moments, special moments. The game is at 12:20 Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Brandon Pickrell also chimed in and says 12, I think. Thank you. 12 o'clock. Thank you. So it'll be somewhere between 12, 12:20, somewhere in that range. Probably comes on at 12. 12:20 it looks like is the tip. I'm sure it'll be vary depending on the game before it or what's on before it and how long it takes. Could be ranked with a win against Louisville tomorrow. Maybe, Brandon. I don't want to get my hopes up, but it's very possible. I would think after beating the number 3 ranked team in the country, as long as you don't turn around and lose the next day, you would think they would be, right? And how good does that make Pitt look now, right? That Pitt loss makes Pitt look really good. Makes Pitt look absolutely excellent. So, boom, what's up? Paul from Locked On, West Virginia. Huge win for the Mountaineers, my brother. It's real hard to not get excited and overreact after this. I'm Matthew, buddy. Look, like I said earlier, I ain't gonna lie, man. I had tears well up in my eyes with joy. I was so happy. We needed this so bad as a fan base, man. Thank you, Coach DeVries and basketball team. And thank you to the women's teams, too. I don't want them to go unnoticed. What they're doing right now and what this men's team is doing, got to give a shout-out to the soccer team as well, making it to the NCAA tournament. What they are doing right now is helping us giving us a little bit of positivity and some hope for this athletic department and the future of these programs, man, because we're so frustrated about football. We need these types of games and these types of moments to keep us going, right? To keep us hopeful and excited and bought in, really, to WVU athletics. Quick turnaround, and our starters played a lot of minutes. Russell, that's exactly what I said earlier, man. I'm a little bit concerned about tomorrow. I guess Louisville had an easier game down the stretch. Their game was a blowout, whereas West Virginia was having to scratch, claw, bleed, dig for every single loose ball, every single point. Obviously played 5 extra minutes. And like I mentioned earlier, they weren't able to sub a whole lot. They had to rely on their starters almost the entire second half. So those guys played a ton of minutes. So I'm concerned about that. Definitely concerned. Hopefully the guys can take it easy tonight, get off their feet. I'm sure they have their trainer with them and their staff with them that can help them get through the evening. Silas in the house says, let's go. Let's do it, Silas. Let's go, buddy. Timothy Green says, I definitely think this team will win at least 20 games and probably more. We get us a new football coach, and, man, we're looking good. 20 wins is a lot to ask, Timothy, in the Big 12, brother. I love your enthusiasm, but 20 wins would be a lot. When you look at our Big 12 slate, man, 20 wins would be tough to do. Can they do it? Absolutely, but I'm not going to predict it. I predicted 15 wins coming in. I'm sticking with that for now. That probably won't get them into the tournament. If they can win 17, 18 games, I think they're an NCAA tournament team. This win today is huge. It's a quad one win. Quad one wins are extremely important when it comes to Martians on Selection Sunday. But they can't turn around and lose tomorrow. That would hurt. And Locked On West Virginia makes a great point. He says, Louisville starts 2. You guessed it, 6'10 and 6'11 guys. Of course they do. Of course they do. Gonzaga is like a protagonist teams in the Mighty Ducks movies. This was an effing huge win for us. Can't be happier. You got that right, brother. Luke Armacost in the house. Thank you for hopping on. He says there was an offensive game plan. Sight for sore eyes. Well done. Great show. Even better after a big-time dub. Thank you, Luke, for hopping on, brother. Russell Snyder says Pitt basketball will choke just like the football team. And John says if we can keep it rolling this tourney, puts us a bit ahead of the 8 ball. True, John. Wouldn't it be something if West Virginia can come back with a trophy from this tournament? They get 3 wins, come back, 6-1 on the season, probably ranked. Boy, wouldn't that be it? But I don't want to get ahead of myself. They have Louisville coming up tomorrow, who's a good team. Sean Ferguson from X says, reminded me of old school teams that had talent scattered and a ton of heart. I love having Javon, a la Pittsnoggle, Gansey, Butler, the Carter, Miles, Sags. Hey, every time I hear Javon Small, I think Javon Carter. The next great Javon in Mountaineer basketball, right? Let's do it. I truly believe this win just secured us at least one 5-star recruit, if not a 5-star and a top 4-star. Jordan Couz from Country Roads Webcast says the second half today was the first time I've gotten to watch this team, and man, they are fun to watch. Man, Jordan, you're not kidding, man. Even the first half, when they didn't look quite as good, they were still fun to watch because they never give up. They grind, they scratch, they claw, they hustle, they go after every ball. They're physical. They just have that blue-collar Mountaineer mentality, like I've said multiple times in the show. They've got it, man. They've got it. Now, they didn't play perfect. They committed 13 turnovers. They obviously, their size hurt them a little bit at times today. But, man, they still out-rebounded a team with multiple 7-footers on it, or at least guys who were close to 7 foot. I call 6'10" and 6'11 guys 7-footers just in general, but they out-rebounded a team with multiple 7-footers. That's huge. Absolutely huge. Yeah, they got some – Kerry, they did get some generous calls at the integrated regulation, but you know what? I feel like Gonzaga got some calls earlier in the game, so it kind of evened out, in my opinion. Tucker is misunderstood. He's actually our glue guy, man. Yeah, I talked about that earlier, Paul. Tucker is – just look at his stat line. Man, he had 4 blocks. Obviously, he had the points, but he had 7 rebounds, 2 assists. I'm sorry, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 4 blocks, and 16 points. And then, like I mentioned, just his intelligence on the court, the way he's a leader on the court, telling the guys not to get too excited when there were still 35 seconds to go in the game. It was still a 2-possession game. And he's like, look, guys, this is not over yet. You're right. He's an absolute leader. He's like a coach on the floor is what he is. I called him Coach DeVries 2.0 because that's what he is. And he's going to coach basketball one day. There's no doubt in my mind. He's so smart with the basketball, even without the basketball. He's so good when he doesn't have the ball in his hand. He knows where to go, what to do. He's great at getting open, using his body to get open, using screens, cutting to the basket, making great passes. I mean, I could just go on and on about the young man. And he's also really good defensively. He's not just an offensive one-sided player, man. He's good at using his hands to get steals, cutting off passing lanes, using his length. And I think he's more athletic than what people give him credit for as well. Timothy Green says Auburn is at 31-17 over Memphis, and they are both 6-0, a little over 6 minutes in the first half. Thank you, Timothy. I appreciate that. Powell has been impressive as a freshman. Russell Snyder says, if nothing else, this strengthens confidence in Renneberger's hiring skills. DeVries is the coach we needed. Great point, Russell. John says, love the raw emotion. That's true, too. And speaking of emotion, I like watching Coach DeVries on the sidelines because when you see him in press conference, he's such a calm, soft-spoken guy, And I even had a chance to meet him at the coach's caravan. He was so soft-spoken, very nice, he's actually very funny, very good at telling jokes and cutting up and that kind of thing, but has a great sense of humor. But I love seeing his excitement and his enthusiasm on the sidelines, man. It's infectious. I love it. What's the T on Louisville? They upset Indiana, but not sure. I don't know either, Luke. I have not had a chance to dig into them yet. I'm hoping to do that a little bit later, at least on the surface, get some little surface information. If I have a chance, I'll do a show on it, maybe put out late tonight or in the morning. Not sure if I have time to do it yet, but I just want to enjoy this win for now. I'm going to have to jump off here, guys, but I appreciate everybody chiming in, tuning into the show. Again, for those of you watching on the Couz's Corner X account, be sure to come over to Hoops from the Hills on YouTube after the show. Check out past episodes that myself and other creators have done on the channel. You're going to be seeing a lot more of me covering West Virginia hoops over at Hoops from the Hills, as well as what I'm doing over at Couz's Corner. So stick around. There'll be more to come on that channel all season long. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Have a great night. Jordan, great point, man. Hansberry looks like Kevin Jones at times. That's a great comparison I have not thought about. Great comparison. I'm done, everybody. See you.